What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Allsmith Project. Today's guest is a father, husband, veteran, and a former addict who was given a second chance. He's the founder of Valor Fit, which is a nonprofit organization that pairs veterans with communities to help rebuild their confidence while providing financial aid for their gym membership. Today, I'm excited to welcome Troy Peterson. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Glad
Dude,
we got to do this.
I'm excited to chat with you. It's also just, we chatted offline, and it happens every time when I chat with somebody that I'm really passionate to speak with. It's like, hey, we should probably hit that record button.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
I
feel like
think
there's so
that's,
much synergy here.
yeah, and there's certain, I like to talk. Anybody that's met me, like, man, that guy can talk is what I'm guessing what it says, but like when there's certain points, I'm very passionate about life. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not a chip on my shoulder. It's a zest for real human connection. And I think when you find that, the real, like, there's no plan, there's nothing on a note card, there's no script, and it's like I get to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I have good things to say. I've learned a lot. I have a lot to learn, but it's like, yeah, the when I met you, I was like, yeah, there's a connection there. Like
Oh,
this is
yeah.
gonna work.
And it's not just the connection, in my opinion, but it's also the fact that we both have a story. And I think the story is so magical because it can be the thing for many people in this human experience that either holds us back or it ends up being the launching pad for something we do in the rest of our life. And you obviously have a very special and unique story that I'm incredibly honored to unpack and share with our audience today. But you're not faking it. You're not fabricating something out of nothing to just get a social media following and grow a perceived business. Like, this is authentic and real. And what's so dope about it is now it's having a domino effect in how it's positively impacting not just the veteran community, but now bridging the way towards relatability with civilians like myself. And so the narrative and the conversion as to how you've shared your story is very impressive to me, Troy. Like, you've really curated it in a way that's relatable, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that was never intended to be that way. I
Mm-hmm.
just I we'll get into it, and I knew I needed to change in the way that the way that it was talked about. I didn't agree with, and then
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there were other ways for people to hear each other and to speak with each other and to listen and those things. And as it's gone on, I try my best not to emotionally. I appreciate what you're saying because I know it's true and I see it and I get to see it every single day. But I don't really want to accept it because I don't just want to plateau and stop. Like,
Of
okay, we're
course.
good, things are great, because I think there's so much more. Like as I'm learning, as you're learning, introducing to you, being introduced to you, and I think as it's going, it's like, hey, this is different.
It's a
And
constant evolution, and something that comes to mind is good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from poor decisions.
yeah,
And that's a tough pill to swallow. But in the midst of trying to share your story, you're sharing, man, I made some poor decisions along the way, but I learned so much from them. And I'm granting everybody out there the permission to be more vulnerable, because those poor decisions don't have to define you. They can actually ignite this fire for you to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
right. Yeah, that's the as these conversations like evolve and grow, it's like, okay, there's more to this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we hit some good
Totally, man.
points, we hit
The,
some good topics.
the
Like, what else?
irony of us connecting during Mental Health Awareness Month is incredible. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't plan that, and now it's happened. So there is some sort of frequency in the universe that is pulling us together, which is very cool. But you've got some history to you, man. You come
Yeah.
with some past experience, some past traumas, and before we jump into all of it, I'm curious, like, how did you navigate your childhood, and how did you eventually decide upon entering this season of life in the military?
Love it. So, like, for example, when I was 14, I was taking Mountain Dew bottles with vodka
Mm-hmm.
from the way I was raised, and to drink at school, and it wasn't to be cool after football games. It was to get through it. And then 16 years old, I was an alcoholic. I was having 6 beers after 6 beers daily. And it became, then I started smoking cigarettes, and then it led to, vodka, alcohol, cigarettes. And, I'd have to wake up with a hangover. So I dip into my my Black Velvet. Here it comes, like the worst tasting alcohol you could ever have. Like that was a habit for me. It was a vicious cycle. So I was at community college. September 11th happened. I just graduated high school in 2001, and I had been talking to a military recruiter, and I went straight to him, and he said, "Hey, they got sign-on bonuses. You want to do it?" And so on September 12th, I signed up to go on active duty, and I was the first person in the state of Iowa to do so. And it, like, looking back, it was like a cloud. I don't remember my thought process. I don't remember the feelings. I remember I was mad. I was sad. I was angry, watching, video after video of the terrorist attacks and President Bush talking and those things. And it was like, I got to go. Like, this is my way out. And I never thought, like, I'm going to go escape my childhood, or I'm going to go escape the way I was raised. It was just like, this is my chance to go better myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up, went to basic training, got stationed down at Fort Hood.
Where's Fort Hood?
Go ahead.
Where's Fort Hood?
It's in Central Texas. So now it's Fort Cavazos. They have since changed the name. But it's one of the largest military installations in the world. And so I got stationed down there, and in March of 2004, I deployed to central Iraq, downtown Baghdad.
Wow.
And
I want to hear about your experience in Iraq in a second, but I am curious just your thoughts based on some of the controversies and the conspiracy theories that we've seen around 9/11. Like, what are your thoughts on some of that now that things have unraveled a little bit? We've seen different experts talk about, is it possible for the Twin Towers to fall the way they did with the planes hitting? Like, what is your ideology, maybe being on the inside rather than someone that's a civilian from the outside looking in? Move fast and break shit. LSKD develops functional sportswear with a streetwear aesthetic that's on a mission to inspire you to chase the vibe through sport, fitness, and adventure. I train daily in the rep shorts and love the versatility they offer. The zipper pocket is an absolute game changer. I go from training at the gym directly to meetings, running errands, or prepping for podcasts. The LSKD tribe has become true family, and we are excited to continue to develop our community. Shop now at lskd.com and use code ALLSMITH. We chase the vibe here at AllSmith. Let's all become 1% better every day.
Yeah, so kind of both, like, I don't know if it's an avoidance thing. I've never dove deep into the conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. The crowd I've hung out with, the military people, like, I never had anybody approach me, like, hey, do you think we're going to find weapons of mass destruction? It was like, you're being told this is what you're going to do, and you're going to go do it, and we're going to train you in the language over there, and that's what it is. And like, my thought is the people that were killed that day. And so for me, like, hearing the families talk about it years later, and the firefighters that, are now getting cancer or passing away from cancer from that thing, like, the political side of it, like, I chose to follow the direction of, when I signed that contract, I was at the mercy of the President of the United States of America. When he said, you're going, I'm going. I volunteered. I signed this. And so a lot of it was, I'm going to go do this. I got to do this. I signed up to do this. And I never thought, like, there's no complaining. Like, I just didn't have a thought of a complaint. Mm-hmm. I still don't. And it was always focused around the victims of it for me. Like, man, like, mom and dad went to work that day, or a brother, a sister, whatever it may be, went to work that day. That's it. Or they're flying to work. They're flying on vacation, whatever it may be. It's like, and then it just stops. Yep. You're done. And so I've always focused on that. I've never gotten into the conspiracy theory. I've never dove into, like, the political side of it. I've gotten in arguments that I won't get political about it. Mm-hmm. And it's literally like, you're now trying to get into my business by telling me how my political beliefs should be. And that's not something I agree with.
Yeah, me neither. I think what's really cool about conversations like this is the genuine curiosity, because I'm curious mostly around the motivating factor. and how you transitioned from, well, I'm just trying to get through the day to day. And then this catastrophic event happened in our country and you went all in. And so as you transitioned, you're now training down at Fort Hood, getting ready to get deployed out to Iraq. What was the relationship with alcohol at that time? What was your mental health like? And how did you kind of get your wits about you to be an amazing contributing team member and then head out there to support the country and obviously the victims?
Yeah, so once I got to Fort Hood, like, and this is why I think like I was meant to be doing what I'm doing now. I was meant to be doing what I was doing then. Like all my problems just kind of went away. And I
Mm.
partied, but not in the sense of like I used to. Like I was drug tested in the military. You weren't smoking pot. You weren't taking anything else. Like you were gone if you did that in the military. So like we partied, like it's a fraternity. It's the largest, most powerful fraternity that's ever existed. And so like we partied before I went to Iraq, and then when I got home, I started partying again. But every problem that I had before I signed that military contract went away. Like my thought process, my mental health was great. I was confident. I was on a team again. They needed me. I needed them. My chain of command and my leadership uh, was so amazing. I believed what they said. I trusted them. They trusted me. Everything was working. It was like a well-oiled machine. Of course, there were stupid little nitpicky things that people complain about, but it's like I'm on the baddest team that I could ever imagine being on. Like I have a purpose. I'm a part of a mission. I'm happy to be here. And then when we deployed, that thing, like I was scared. I was scared shitless driving in from Kuwait to Iraq. Like things are on fire still. Like there's, Iraqi tanks over cars that have blown up, and like you're driving through all of this. And so I was scared, and the head was on a swivel. But every other problem I had was gone, and I was there. And so like
Wow.
people are like, be present in the moment. I was present in that moment. Like those are things I will not forget because I was so proud of what I was doing. And
Yeah,
I
it
was,
sounds
I
like
was
this opportunity gave you extreme purpose and
absolutely,
also a sense of belonging, that you were a part of a team, that then you were very confident putting one foot in front of the other because you knew you had the boys behind you supporting you.
absolutely. Yep. And they knew they had me, and that conversation, like we didn't have like, I have you, you have me, we can do this together. It was, we made this choice. We signed this contract. We're going to give it our all. And without that, bad things can happen. And so let's just all be on this. And we got in arguments and, all that kind of stuff. But it was a brotherhood that I never had experienced before. And I didn't sit there and I never once thought like, this is what makes me. Like I said, just like naturally it was there and I loved it and I embraced it. And we just drove on into Iraq.
And what was the experience like when you got to Iraq?
So our mission was supposed to be a peacekeeping mission at that point. And so like I was scared, but we were confident. We were trained in the language and we were going to help people while protecting ourselves. And like protecting ourselves comes with the territory. Like, this is how you do this. If this happened, an IED goes off, we do this and those things. But it was like, we're going to improve the lives of these people because they've been treated so terribly for so long. That was our mission. And then 4 days into Iraq, that changed immediately. Like it went from, we were going to help schools and rebuild schools and parks and, get the economy going again and gas stations and those things. And then on April 4th, 2004, a different part of the unit I was with was attacked and 8 people were killed.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the 72 hours in that it changed fast. Like I remember hearing about it. Like we were in the fob resting in between patrols, and it was like, hey, these guys, it's bad. Like we need to go. Like everybody's going. Like every ammo crate was brought over, pallets of ammo. You go here, you go here. These 4 vehicles go here. It was controlled chaos. And then it was like hearing things over the radio. KIA. They give the last 4 in KIA. And it was like, man, this is bad. Like these are good people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in between anger and then continuing the mission. And then afterwards, it was like, hey, these people are no longer with us. Like our mission has changed. We are now going on the offense. And it changed who I was and the thought process that I had from I'm so grateful to be here, I'm so happy to be here, to what am I going to be able to provide this team to make sure this doesn't happen again? And how do I make sure that those lives weren't lost out of in vain, that people don't forget about them, that
Mm-hmm.
the Iraqi people are going to understand that my friends' lives were very important to me.
Yeah.
So it changed. And then we went on the offense and we went on the hunt. And
How does it feel self-reflecting on that, knowing that it wasn't just a mission change? It was almost for you an identity shift from a peaceful wanting to iron out the wrinkles of what was going on in there to enhance the quality of lives for that demographic to, oh no, we need to
it
go
was a
on the
life
hunt
story.
for the bad people.
So that, and I tell people this, like, how does it feel? It's like you turn off the lights when you go to bed and everything's dark. That's like, then the anger comes in. I want retaliation. We're going to go back. And I became angry, mad,
Mm-hmm.
resentful. I was hateful. And up until that point, like, I'd been scared, but I was happy to be there. We had all these things that we were going to do and improve people's lives, to the reality of what war brings.
Yeah.
And thinking about the families, like, they turn the phones off when somebody's killed over there. I don't think our phones didn't work, but you're not communicating to anybody. And knowing that people, families, moms and dads and wives and sisters, brothers, were going to have somebody from Fort Hood knocking on their door and saying, hey, your loved one is no longer here. They were killed. We're 4 days into it, like
Yeah.
we just got here. And so I became angry and hateful, and kind of, it was the biggest turning point in my life.
I believe it.
I
It's a
didn't,
huge nervous system switch too, where you go
absolutely.
from immediately into fight or flight. I'm sure sleep was slim. I'm sure action plans were high. You're on high alert nonstop, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, full of piss and vinegar, and ready to go put down the hammer.
Yeah. And that's all I wanted to do. Anything else, nothing mattered to me anymore. Like a normal conversation, a lot of the guys that was there were either from Texas or from the Midwest. And so, like, my friend from Illinois and my friend from Texas, and I ain't got nothing to say to you. You don't have nothing to say to me. It's on now. And so there was a real disconnect. I turned 21 in April. I had just gotten there, and I turned 21. And so I'd never dealt with emotions in a real way. And now I'm in a combat zone, and my friends' lives, my friends gave their lives for this country, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Guilty. Now I'm angry. And I'd never known what to do with that in the first place. So now it's all together, and now it's in front of me, and it literally then, it was like watching a movie. Somebody
Yeah.
else's actions took over.
What was the path forward after these events? I mean, you mentioned this is day 4. You're trying to navigate emotions. You're looking to your left and right with the other guys you're in combat with. There's no conversation had anymore. There's just an energy exchange of like, we know the job, we know the mission's changed. Let's go out and execute. What was the path forward for you guys and for you specifically?
Our mission changed. So, like, we went on the hunt for mortar teams. We went on the hunt for, a sniper. We went to the sheikhs that were there. Hey, you're going to tell us who did these things. You're going to tell us who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. We got the deck of cards. How do we get to these people? And you're going to help us whether you like it or not. And if you help us, we'll help you. And so then it became an exchange of power between the different tribes within the Sunnis and the Shias, like the cultural differences over there. Then they start to play you against each other. And so it was literally a lot of nonstop, like, toxic environment. is what I was. So people now, if you can relate, it was not masculine toxicity. It was like cultural toxicity of, we're tired of playing your game. Tell us who killed our friends. And then as more people were killed, that it was an endless hunt for those things. So then every month someone's dying, every 3 weeks, you know what I mean? And it's like you're adapting to that. Of my first sergeant was killed, and it was immediately, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By 2:30, we were out on a specific mission hunting for these people.
Mm-hmm.
It was adapt, improvise, adapt, and overcome immediately. But you're talking about life and death. You're talking about war, combat. So I never had time to think about what was happening. It was like, this is what's happening.
Yeah. What message would you deliver to modern day civilians that are maybe just consuming the news, or they're trying to absorb any sort of information stateside? You're obviously boots on the ground. There's a reason why we have freedom. Freedom isn't free. It takes a huge sacrifice from contributors and people that are out there living it and experiencing it at a very tangible, real level. What message would you deliver to just the modern day consumer that really doesn't have any idea? And my hope with our conversation today is to create some transparency and respect as to why we're fortunate to have the luxuries that we have in our day-to-day.
I would never, I've been a few places. You could say you have no bills, no debt the rest of your life. If you go live in Iraq, in a mansion, with never, ever, ever, ever. But I think the message I've always wanted to get across is, the military does what they're told to do. Right, wrong, or indifferent. If we have an opinion on that, it can be swayed, what your family says. But while I was in the military and afterwards, like, I volunteered to do it, they volunteered to do this. That was our job. That was our intention, was to protect ourselves against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So when I was told that, these foreigners attacked your country, this is bad people, that's all I needed. Looking back on it now, the political side, yeah, you could get into this was told in the political game. We didn't have that information. We weren't privy to that. Like, no one was. You're told what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And we did it because we cared about this country. We care about this country, and we did it. And then it turned into, we do this for each other.
Yeah.
And so when we're thrown in the pot, in the mix of, oh, you're just a political puppet. Boy, I've been called worse things than that. Like, then you could be like, well, I volunteered to serve my country. It's like, hey, I did what I signed up to do. I did it proudly. I did it honorably. And I did it for the people beside me. So anything anybody outside of that says, like, yeah, of course I get mad and I get frustrated and I get fired up. But it's like, I know I did it for these people. And I know now what I'm doing.
And you did it with the information that you had for very courageous and honorable reasons. And so,
right. Yeah,
I think it's cool.
Like, I think a lot of it is, oh, well, we pay taxes, we should know. And it's like, okay, go ask them. I'm not sure. The information I had was these weren't good people. And so we're going to go rebuild it for them. And then I found out there were more not good people. And so that's what I knew. And my friends were killed in doing so. So yeah, that's it.
I think anybody in your shoes would try their best to honor that. And I think when people have these foreign opinions based on knowledge that may or may not be true, it's just subjective perspective that leads to nuance and arguing for no reason. At the end of the day, like, you're trying to keep yourself, your family, and your country safe. And sometimes that requires going after bad guys because of the knowledge that you had and the witnessing of people that you care about being killed. And so as you were navigating combat, you're getting direct orders. You guys are having very quick and adaptable briefs. What kind of came next, and how did it ultimately lead to an injury for yourself? The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
Yeah, I was on patrol, and we would switch different positions in the vehicles, leave vehicles, so there were IEDs that were happening. I I chose to be the gunner one evening, and specifically, I was smoking a cigarette with my arm on the plate, and that specifically, I took IED through the shoulder. And it was late at night, smoking a cigarette. I don't care if I died at this point, like it'll be quick. And so then that injury led to, then I was scared. But then I was also guilty that these people were dying and I just had these injuries, and that is where the guilt kicked in. Real guilt, like survivor's guilt. Like you see it in your story. You see, like, why not me? Why them and not me? And then when I got home, that was another big turning point, is when I was injured. Like you could hear an IED go off all day long, every hour. The explosion, the smoke, you could see it everywhere, feeling it. Like we would be a part of these missions that it would happen. So mine was like, oh, that ain't bad. And then I felt bad for thinking it wasn't bad. And then it was these people. I mean, these are people were dying left and right. So our phones were always off. And it was a turning point to where that guilt started to take over. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, these people are dying. Like, their families are being notified, and I just keep getting through. This is terrible. So when I got my medical treatment and I went back to patrols, and on the last 90 days, you kind of start to wind down on missions, and nobody in my direct unit was killed in that 90-day period. But we then brought in the 3rd Armored Division, and they were replacing us, and they were being killed. So there was like a group of like 12 of them that walked out of our base and like, hey, don't go out there on foot. Like you guys are tough, but you can't, your body armor is not beating an IED. And then like 16 of them went out on patrol. Like 6 of them came back. Oh my God. Everybody else was killed from an IED. And it was like, at that point I was done. Like, it's time to go home. Like, this has been enough. And so we returned home and everything. So at Fort Hood, when I got home, if you're there for 366 days, you get, like, I forget what it was, X amount of dollars extra per day that you're there over 365 days. So we got back like at 11:30 on day 365 at night. And they line all the buses up, the 1st Cav parade field, and the band comes out and it's all happy. We're all like feeling good. And they put these lays on you and said, thank you, welcome home. And then reality hit. Like, there's a lot of people that aren't here. Everybody's so happy, smiling and happy to see me. I don't want to be here. I don't deserve to be here. Like, there's my first sergeant declined retirement, his 20-year retirement, to come to Iraq with us, to lead us into Iraq. He's a great father, a great husband, a great leader. And he said, no, I'm going to extend and I'm not going to retire until we come home. And he was killed on June 27th, 2004. And his wife was there. And it's not fair. I'm getting ready to turn 22 years old. And I don't want to be where I'm at. I don't want to be celebrated. I want to go home. And so on my way home, I got drunk. And like to where we lived in Georgetown was about a 40-minute drive, and I was drinking on the way there, and then we got to a hotel where my family was staying, and I tied one off with my family like I've never done before. And on the way home, on the way to my house, I remember turning a corner and opening the car door. And luckily I hadn't taken my seatbelt off, but I don't remember exactly if it was to jump out of the car to hurt myself or jump out of the car to be sick from drinking so much. But I got sick. And so I remember the next morning being like, everybody loves that I'm home. I gotta be happy. Everything's good. Everything's great to go. And we got like a 3 or 4 day weekend. We went right back to work half days, like the following Tuesday. Like this was, let's say, on a Friday. Like Tuesday, we were back at work at noon at Fort Hood, normal, hey, formation, PT, those things. You're going to get back to it. And it was, remember, don't hit your spouse, don't hit your sister, don't kick your dog. We're good to go. Nobody's saying anything. There was no, the way you're like, the look that you're giving me, that was everybody's response. What the fuck? What are we doing here? Nobody knows what to say. Nobody knows how to feel. Nobody, like, I'm happy to be home, but my friends are dead. Like, what a deal. I'm happy to be home, but the sights, the sounds, and the smells are still with me when I go to sleep. You know, it'll get better. It'll get better. And then I had about 9 months left on my contract. And I got out, and, when you're out processing, you go through the medical check. How you feeling? Everything's great. Everything's healed. Everything's good to go. Testing for traumatic brain injury in 2006. Thankfully, it's come a really, really long way. But it was like, hey, follow my finger. And it's like I could barely keep my eyes open at some points. My head hurts so bad. My ears are ringing. I'm peeing blood. Okay, these are all normal things. It's a trauma response to being home. And so when you get out, you out process. And I went to work the next week at the Travis County Sheriff's Office in Austin, Texas. Didn't know any different. Go back to work. When the World War II people went immediately back to work. There was no complaints, no nothing. It's like, no, they just didn't have social media to talk about. They didn't have social media to everybody's problems are out there for everybody to see. The news wasn't all over it. It was, here's a picture of people getting off the boats and everything's happy. Like, no, it was rough. The same thing with Vietnam. Like, they can't complain. Us as soldiers can't complain because the way that Vietnam veterans were treated when they got home. We're not saying nothing. So I went to work immediately. I was on hydrocodone, was drinking, and that's when, like, week 1, I fell off the wagon hard. Like, I was taking hydrocodone pills to sleep, and not necessarily because I was in pain either. Like, I got addicted to. I became a full-fledged addict immediately after getting out. I was on something at all times.
I want to bookmark you right there for a quick second, just to better understand. Your nervous system was so used to just being on high alert that, like, fighting a battle gave you purpose. But then when that guilt started to set in, and it's not purposeful guilt, it's just the fact that you genuinely care deeply about the people that lost their lives, and you're using perspective to better understand that it's not just about you. It's not just about the other brothers that survived, but you're thinking about the families. You're thinking about the brothers, the sisters, the wives, the dogs that aren't going to have those people coming home. Troy, that's pretty fucking cool, the fact that you have that perspective. However, it makes it heavy. It makes it difficult. It makes it where you're uncommon amongst the uncommon. You're tremendously misunderstood. You're trying to assimilate into a society of people that have literally no fucking clue of the life that you just lived for 365 days. And so my question for you is, this kind of relates to the general grieving process where people don't know how to respond. Right now, it sounds like the response is celebrate the service, celebrate the presence of the arrival of the troops and the military personnel that do make it home. what would be your suggestion as to how people would respond? Is it allowing you to share the story? Is it, some sort of therapy response? What would be a great suggestion that you have around trying to figure out sleep? I mean, you're on high alert for 365 days. There's IEDs going off. There's all kinds of things where you don't have comms with your phone. Like, life is so significantly different. And my question is, what would you suggest as a solution-based orientation that could have helped at that time? Or do you think you had to go through that and buy yourself some time in order to find peace?
Yeah, for me, so we had sexual harassment training. We had alcoholism, substance abuse before I got out, and I didn't. It doesn't apply to me. I drink because I want to drink. I drink because I like to drink, and it never. Being an addict or an alcoholic, never once I am that entered my mind. Like, it's not. I'm not the problem, and so I think now I have therapy. Now I lean on therapy every 2 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
and that without that I change. I get in my head. I make up shit in my head of the kind of person that I am. And so I think having options and knowing what actual resources are, because veterans have a lot of resources, but also a normal person in society, when they go through a traumatic event, whether it's through insurance or my insurance provider, like, it's hard to talk about traumatic experiences. And so if someone goes and been like, and that they call a therapist, and that therapist isn't in their network, they stop. It's not going to work. Therapy's not going to work for me. I don't need therapy. I can do this on my own. I got barbell therapy. Stop it. Like, I now have the ability to call myself out on my own BS and say, like, when I'm going through the sad boy stuff, I have the conscience of, I got resources to go to. I got places where people want to see me. I want to go there, but sometimes people don't have that. And I think if there was an interception along the line of, like, hey, therapy is okay. Like, therapy in your insurance provider through the VA, it's okay. Like, that's what upsets when people throw the VA into this terrible position. Like, the VA changed my life. The resources that they have available to me directly through secure messaging, phone numbers, like, and the civilians might not have that, but like at a homeless shelter, then you can find substance abuse therapy, you can find addiction, substance abuse specialists and social workers. It's a long, patient process sometimes, and as someone who's got to go, 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 I found just what works for me. And I think being consistent and being an advocate for myself is where I had to take ownership in the crap that I was doing, because there's resources for everybody.
Totally. Would you say that that it took you allowing your elevator to hit rock bottom in order for you to come to terms with the fact that, hey, I need to surrender. I need to ask for help.
Yeah.
And then my next question is, for a prideful, stoic, special forces individual, they're trained to mask emotion and to think logic and to just execute. And now, after everything, when the dust settles a little bit, it's almost a deconstruction of identity and the unlearning of learning. Like, how you get here is not how you get there. And it becomes this almost distrust with self, in the sense of, oh, if I am vulnerable and I share what's bothering me, is it going to negatively impact my life and be weaponized against me potentially, where it's going to be viewed as, not masculine. It's going to be viewed as I'm not a good leader. Oh, I can't be relied upon because, I'm in a vulnerable state right now. How do we make it more appropriate for high-performing males specifically to share their story, ask for help, realizing that it's going to help arm them for a better future? But in the interim, there is that toggling and push-pull of fear and judgment and self-doubt.
Yeah, so in the combat arms realm of people, that's why females with military sexual trauma then don't say anything, because they can't. And then in combat arms, then you're looking at, someone such as myself, and then I look at Chad Wilkinson. And that's one of the baddest men that's ever walked this planet. And he felt, I attempted to take my own life, so I don't want to offend his wife in any means. But I know what I felt, and that I had nowhere to go and no one to relate to me. And there was so much going in my head that if I took myself out of their lives would be better. And I think it starts within the Special Forces community, the Navy SEAL community, the Marine Recon, and it's understanding with each other. Like, it doesn't make you less of a warrior if you're on active duty and you're like, hey, I've got these issues, I've got these problems within each other, you know. And if there's a balance in real life conversation of, hey, I'm whining or complaining, or hey, I'm actually like, I've got black dots swirling around my eyes and I can't hear. And so I'm, you know, the confusion is these things. I think policing one another, like the Navy SEAL community is so good at policing themselves. But also I've gotten close with some that I met at Wadapalooza. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about this much. We're good to go. Good to thanks, you know? And then it's understanding like there's real life health and medical issues with your mental and physical health. And then there's whining that it's hot out. And it's actually, hey, let's differentiate those. And like females with military sexual trauma won't say anything. Like, even though maybe they got medically retired out of the military and PTSD from that situation. And I would rather go through what I went through 50 times than something happened as a female with my chain of command and them, you know, telling me I'm a bad person and terrible and I caused all this scene. Get out. Like when I left, they were, you know, a round of applause and here's these awards and trophy, you know, all those things. So I think a lot of it comes from, and they can get mad at me if they want. They usually do. The military branches themselves need to do a better job of policing, listening, and understanding. Yeah, there's a job you got to do. But I know people that have done this 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deployments. Some wear and tear on the mind. There's some wear and tear on the body. And these people are afraid what happens if that gets taken away. So what can we do performance-wise for mental and physical health while still in?
Peptides. There's been a lot of buzz about peptides and what they can do for the body, skin, muscles, and health. What exactly are they? And do they live up to the hype? Your body makes peptides. They are strings of amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins. Peptide therapy involves using prescription-based peptides to help treat and manage a variety of health conditions to maximize performance. Peptides consist of 2 to 50 amino acids and are made naturally in the body to act as important signaling molecules for many physiological and cellular functions. There are over 7,000 known functions of peptides in the body, and adequate levels in the body are imperative for performing at optimal levels. Discover a transformative journey to optimal well-being with Livv Peptides. Livv Peptides offer a natural and effective approach to health support. Embrace the difference. Choose Livv for a path to vitality that prioritizes quality, innovation, and your unique wellness goals. My personal favorite is BPC 157 with thymosin beta for optimizing gut health, tissue regeneration, and healing. Head over to livvnatural.com and use code ALLSMITH for 20% off peptides. That's LIVVNATURAL.com with discount code ALLSMITH for 20% off peptides.
I like that you're mentioning just the resources that are available as far as experts, specialists, therapists, different people that you can reach out to and gain access to. Correct me if I'm wrong here, though, and we see this a lot just in general civilian life and with our healthcare system as well, but you mentioned oxycodone. You mentioned different forms of big pharma being involved in your treatment. I'm assuming you had to go through somebody to get prescriptions to those things. And when I'm thinking about like the mental health epidemic, I'm thinking, okay, we've got this spectrum of depression and anxiety. Those are physiological effects that most humans go through in some capacity based on maybe lack of sleep, a traumatic event happening. Maybe there is a chemical imbalance or something associated with it. Traumas obviously will change your physiology too. And then when things get to a certain level and maybe there's trial and error that wasn't working from lifestyle or through habitual practices, maybe prescribing is good. Like, I think there should be a synergistic relationship between preventative and reactive medicine. My question for you becomes, is there a quick decision to prescribe? And how do you know if that's the right prescription, if it's the not right prescription? Who kind of makes some of those very big decisions when you have somebody that's coming back that's dealing with a very, very serious set of symptoms?
Right. So if you're out of the military and there's PTSD, then there's a protocol, A, B, C, D medications. If you have anxiety and sweaty palms and, you're looking, all those things, then there's this medical diagnosis, and the protocol is A, B, C, and then E, F, G, H over here. And so and this is a nationwide thing. This isn't a military thing. And now people are going to get to see, like, I don't make this stuff up. Like I've done my research. I've gone to hospitals. I've seen these things. I've asked the questions. So what the protocol has always been, if you have combat PTSD, you're going to take medications 1 through 4. And then if you have trauma experience physically, you're going to take 11 through 13 and these things. So they group you in a box instead of working with the individual. And now the VA specifically has a program called the Whole Health Program, and it's based off the individual. So those protocols are no longer existing. Now, if you take a veteran who's, the veteran community calls what we call sad, or if you're in sad boy mode, they're going to give you medications 1 through 7, 9, 10, and 9, 10, 11, and they're going to do 8 starting month 2 as a part of your protocol. Well, now the Whole Health Program has taken that out, and they work on the individual. So it's more consistent testing, more testing with traumatic brain injury, nervous system, but also like your physical nerves, your blood tests, these things. There's all these things that the protocol is now completely different. So when I got out, and I admitted that I had these problems, you're going to take 5 medications, and then you're going to take this one before you go to sleep every night. So it was like trazodone got me. And so now the protocols have changed and they're different. And you can only get, 10 days worth of Oxycontin as compared to I was getting 6 months at a time,
Oh my gosh.
It was like, I accidentally dropped them off the back of my car. Can I get 6 more months? So I got 12 months and 30 days.
Wow.
It's like I was the Oxycontin king in my head. But yeah, the protocols have completely different, and we've had to adapt in the military community to treating the individual veteran because we don't know what happened to them before. We don't know the thought process of what happened before. And then the mental aspects of what I saw when I was in Iraq might be different from what my buddy felt and saw. We see the same things, but how his mind works. So we can't just group everybody under one medication. This can't be a hydrocodone thing. And now hospitals and communities, it's more difficult to get opiates than it once was. I don't know how hard it is. I'm sure I could go to a few places and walk into a bar and find these places, but through the VA, it's way more difficult to get these medications. But also there's still the old school way of thinking of we're going to put a Band-Aid on this and hope for the best. Mm-hmm. And what it does is turns the veteran community into zombies.
Yeah. You eventually came nose to nose with suicide. What led to that point, and what was that experience like? And then what was your lifestyle practice afterwards that eventually led you into the health and fitness space?
Yeah, so I was not only addicted to food, the food cravings, this, Burger King triple whoppers make me feel better in the moment. I don't know what it was, but I was drinking, 12 to 24 beers a day with taking shots and popping pills. And I got to 335 pounds. So I had zero confidence. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt physically, mentally. My friends were all great. It was never these people weren't pushing. That we were just young and we had fun and we had good times. These were not bad people that I surrounded myself with. It was just I was always the obnoxious one, the idiot that took it too far, and it just what it was. And I would cry myself to sleep at night. And this is years of doing this. Right? I'd pick a fight at a bar. And then I'd feel so stupid for picking on, I never was a bully. It was the rivalry. some people at bars just need to be put in their place. That's why I don't go to bars. But it became like a hateful thing, and like I hated the person that I was. And I hated like falling down my stairs and crying myself to sleep, waking up and being like having, tears dried to my face, and like, I don't want to be here. And my wife and I have a son, Tucker. He's now 12 and he was 3. And she was 3 months pregnant with Truett. And she was like, an educational coach at Sport Clips and had been, for 12 years. And she was going to esthetician school to get her license. So she was working Monday through Friday and then Saturdays going to school all day. And things were great. And it's just like me and this 3-year-old. He's like the most perfect creature. And I thought as years went on, like, he's going to have a miserable life with me around. I can't be the dad that I want to be because I don't know how. And I'm not I'm just like, I'm not going to be a good dad. I'm going to be a terrible dad. This little boy's life's going to be ruined. And so then my wife, she's 3 months pregnant. And like, if I take myself out of this family's life, 2 kids will have a good life. At least I'll give an opportunity, and that'll be my part. Is they can be happy. They're not going to have a dad drunk falling down the stairs. So I was like, done. I can no longer do this. I no longer want to be inside my own head. Nobody was saying anything bad to my face. There was nothing. I think that's when I first started Instagram, and I didn't know how to work it. But if you go way down to the Instagram, like that was, I was just like getting through the day and trying to be. I thought if I could take myself out, I'd give my 2 kids a chance at a better way of life. They'll get my VA money, retirement every month. Like, they can go to state colleges for free. They can get their fishing licenses for free. So I said, I'm done. And I attempted to overdose. And then woke up and went through all the chemical changes and the detox and that stuff. And I was given an ultimatum, like, you have a family here. Either work for it and do what it's going to take. I don't know what that, I was supposed to be going to substance abuse therapy and all these things. Like, I don't know what it's going to take. Is what I was told, but it's your turn now. So I walked into a CrossFit gym in Waukee, Iowa on a Sunday in 2015, right after the CrossFit games. And the owner, Reggie Hoig, was watching the CrossFit games on TV. And I just remember feeling miserable, feeling tired, dehydrated, sick. I was just coming off an overdose. And he was like, they do CrossFit in the military, right? I'm like, I haven't been in the military in 9 years. I have no idea. He's like, well, there's Daniel Tominski. He was in the military. He was in the Army. He was a drug addict, actually. And now he's here. And I hadn't told him my story yet. And so it was like, okay, well, if Mr. Tominski, he's like, yeah, Dave Castro was a veteran. That's him right there. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games. Like, I'm going to be a CrossFit Games athlete. And I'm there, one training session in, I figured out I wasn't a CrossFit Games athlete. I just didn't have that work ethic in me. It wasn't like the physical things. It was like, I don't have the mental capacity to put in the work and the effort that these people. And so I started making a daily habit. I showed up to my training sessions, and then Reggie put me into group class. And he took the class with me. And, he was my coach, but like, hey, came up, do this, and treat me like a normal person. People started approaching me and talking to me, and none of them were asking me about my problems. They were happy I was here. It may have been like, really nice day outside. Hope you have a great day. And it's like, I hope I do too. Thank you for saying that, because I hope I do too. And then, that year, the Iowa Hawkeyes went 11-0. And I said, every weekend they win, I'm going to not drink or do drugs. And those goofy SOBs went 11-0 and made it to the Big Ten championship. And they lost to Michigan State that year. And it was kind of a running joke between me and my wife, but it wasn't really that funny because she didn't know that I had tried. Like, my actual thought process of behind it, it was like, oh, that's funny. You know what I mean? It's like, I said I was going to be sober for over 9 years. Oh, I'm not drinking again. I'm not drinking again. I'm not drinking again. It was like, so week 12, I'm like, I can do this. Like, I like being CrossFit. I was losing weight. I was feeling good. I was sleeping better. And then, like, in a year, I was like, I'm sober. I'm 1 year clean and sober. Like it just happened fast. I was enjoying the moment, working out, being in the sun, hanging out with new friends. Like the community really wrapped their arms around me, and like we became friends. And you see it. You guys do a lot together. That Sunday volleyball thing, not a lot gives me FOMO. That volleyball thing on Sunday, I've got some serious FOMO with that.
We got
Those
to
are
get you
things
out
that
here
we
to be
get
a part of it.
Yeah, but those are things like that is a real community aspect to it. And then I just kind of started to be a leader in the community. So I started bringing other veterans with me at the VA. I'd met through the VA at appointments and stuff. And then in 2018, someone was like, and so I made a consistent habit. Like I was eating good. I tried the paleo thing. I did the food pyramid deal, all those deals, and it was all working. Everything was good. But some medical things started catching up to me that I ignored, like peeing blood, not feeling good, throwing up all the time. Then I start losing sleep, worrying about, am I going to throw up in the middle of the night? Side effects from being not just a drug addict for 9 years, but the physical and mental trauma and the nervous system breakdown. I not only went 5 years as in the military, but I went for 9 years afterwards fighting that trauma response and trying to cope with it through alcohol and drugs. And so it all became a mess. And in 2020, my kidneys failed, but now we're on the right track. We're doing things are good, but it became these simple daily habits. And that of going into a CrossFit affiliate, getting a workout, being told what to do, how to do, when to do it, we created a nonprofit out of it. And it literally was off small, sustainable habits. So like goal setting, like PRs. Hey, we're going to do, 60% back squats. The next week it's 67.5 through 72. And you do this 8 to 10 week thing. I started really believing in those things. And then just kind of being present with everything else. I like it here. This is actually kind of nice, not hiding my drug addiction or saying I'm sorry 50 times. And so like those small sustainable habits, and I just kind of quit worrying about everything else. Like my therapist said, and it's funny, I haven't heard that since she told me 2020, like, hey, you need to surrender. And I was like, listen, lady, you can take your fancy medical license and stay over there. I am not surrendering nothing. I tried to quit once, and she's like, there's a difference between quitting and surrendering. So then I started to get into it, and that was another thing that I've really adapted to is I always say, like, I don't care. It's like I care so much about this life, I'm just not going to try not to let those little things like the political side of the war is what it is.
Totally.
So like
and also you've developed a mental wherewithal to understand how to draw those boundaries, realizing that people don't have the same lenses as you. And it sounds like through the CrossFit community, consistently working out, eating appropriately, having the honest conversations with your wife, your therapist, and with your circle of trust has led to you developing a life that you can't wait to wake up to, because now it's so service oriented and it's not just about you. It's about you taking the experiences and more tangibly the feeling that you felt, and you're like, A, I never want to feel this again. And B, I don't want anybody else to have to experience what I went through. I'm going to pave the way with my machete, and I'm going to be a trailblazer, and I'm going to have the courage to create a path forward so that people have the resources, the community, the connections, and what I would describe as gas, the give a shit, to keep pushing forward, even in those micro moments when you want to fold, when you want to quit, when you want to reach for the pills or the bottle or, the jump, whatever the vice may be. You're now basically saying, I'm here. I'm co-piloting your journey towards peak expression, and I'm here to hold your hand, give you a hug, talk shit, whatever it is. We're going to do it together. And I think that's one of the most courageous, honorable things that I've heard, man. And it's not easy for you to reshare those stories and to revisit some of those moments. And I'm just incredibly full of gratitude over here that you're willing to create this imagery for us to truly allow you to be seen, heard, felt, and understood. This is going to impact a lot of people, man. I mean, in San Diego, there's so many people out here that navigate these things, and it's not talked about. And I think through the passionate expression of storytelling grants people that permission to be like, no, I matter. My story matters. Let's acknowledge this And let's try our best to create men's groups, to create women's groups, to create collaborative groups where people aren't so alone, man. And in a social media world, we should be more connected than ever, but quite frankly, we're just not. We're buried in the phone thinking about analytics as opposed to what is actually going on.
Yeah, and I, like I said, it's difficult for me to share my stories, and I want to hit that real quick because 9 years, I don't remember a whole lot. I remember like that I can see the pictures of myself like falling down the stair, you know what I mean, and that feeling and the feelingness of helplessness and hopelessness. Now I can't do enough in a day. I don't want to go to sleep, and that's obviously, as an athlete, like that, you, Bryce, have to be the fittest mentally and physically possible, and that is the pull that I have. Is I need to be the best version of me at all times, and it's trying to balance it out. It's like being a dad. I don't love anything as much as no offense to the Valor Fit organization, I love veterans. And I don't want a veteran to ever feel like I did, or anybody to feel like I did. When I'm home with my family, there is my youngest Truett has this smile. And you say, Truett, you're the most handsome, wonderful boy ever. And his little forehead, like, crinkles up. Still to this day, I never want to, like, and he's done it since he's a baby, so it just keeps growing and growing and growing. But it's like, that's what I look forward to, is seeing his little face. Or when he comes out of school and he's got the goofy little, like, he still does this as his wave, you know what I mean? It's like, I want to see that, and I don't want people to miss those things. So my biggest thing now is I can't do enough. And when is enough going to be? Like, when can I help as many veterans as I can through Valor Fit? When can I help as many, families, civilian dads understand that it's okay not to be okay, but don't sit there. Like, got it. Like, that 1 hour, don't let that ruin you. That thought in that 10-minute period, don't let that ruin who you are. It's like people say, like, get back on the saddle. It's like, what does that mean? Like, I'm done with the generic, like, what's the plan? The plan of action has to be step A, B, and C, and D. Well, C didn't work, so then I can't go to D. Like, adapt to those things. And I think, the only problem I have is I can't get enough of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I do more of this?
Something that comes to mind, Troy, is when you work hard for something, which you have, enduring for 9 years, that level of pain. But when you work hard for something, you develop a special attachment to it. And then that attachment becomes kind of the trunk that starts to grow branches. And clearly, in your case, via your family, has roots. What you were describing with your now unique awareness of every little tangible moment with your wife and with your kids, and the wrinkling of the forehead and the smile and the wave, that just tells me that there's a lot to the human experience that it has to be felt. And there was a moment in time where you were seeking an altered source of consciousness where you didn't want to feel because you were feeling all the things of the past. And I think now you have this incredible presence. And I think when we're talking about how do we get people back on the saddle, it's having conversations around granting people permission to feel, acknowledging their feelings, but then also drawing a boundary that those feelings do not have to have a permission slip to live rent-free between our ears for the long haul. We can say hello to them just like cars driving past in a tunnel, but we do not have to get into that car and ride along with the anxiety, the depression, the suicidal ideation. We acknowledge its existence, but action typically cures the anxiety or the depression. And what you're doing is you're creating action steps. You're creating standard operating procedures, checklists that now give people direction. It gives people parameters and a lane that they can kind of play in versus before. It's like, oh yeah, get back on the saddle. It's like, well, what does that mean? I have pain. I have psychological pain. I have emotional pain. The only thing that gets me to do or have action is the alcohol or is the pill. So now it's like, no, let's go for a walk. It doesn't need to be far. We're going to walk from here to that pole. Now we're also going to get exposure to natural sunlight. Next time we do it, I want you to pay attention to the birds. The next time we do it, I want you to really integrate nasal breathing. Okay, first thing in the morning before we start getting doped up on caffeine and Whatever else, we're going to drink natural electrolyte water, and we're going to make sure we're hydrated after 6 to 8 hours of sleep, or we're not getting any sort of hydration. These small habits lead to then micro wins. Those micro wins then lead to movement. The movement or the action is how you get back onto the saddle.
Yeah, and I think writing those things down and making goals, like that's why we're successful. A lot of the CrossFit affiliates do that anyways. Like there's one specifically in San Diego, and she lives for the goals and the goal setting there. You know, like that's her thing. But then it's like, hey, she's also taken that outside of the gym. And it's mixing the two together. And yeah, of course she's got bad days and those problems, but it's like, golly, she's nailing it. Like these micro wins in the sun, and she knows that hiking and the bike club and the run club and every club that is involved with out there, like will help her. It can help her. It's available there. And so a lot of those, you know, starting with a walk is what we go. Like hey, we're going to go on a walk. Hey, gym owner, oh man, this person can't move for nothing. Take them on a walk during their training session. We'll pay for some more training sessions until they get to that point. And those things, and I think those micro wins, everybody says like the military has a hurry up and wait. And then when you get out, like in combat, like you're not waiting on anything. Like it's go, 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 go. And it's fighting between those two. So when you're back in the US, it's hurry up and wait. And then when you're overseas, it's, oh, you got to go. It's go time. Like you're changing now. And so those two intersect each other. And that's where veterans are like, oh, I got hearing. I want to get into the VA on Thursday. Well, it's Wednesday. That's not a real thing. You can go to the emergency room and be seen. It's like, well, they're just going to send me home. And it's like, have you tried that? It's like, well, no. Okay, well, like one step at a time. Like learn to be patient. And that like learning to be patient. I'll be 9 years clean and sober in August, and that whole patience thing does not settled into my resume yet. Like it's not. It's not
something
there.
that I've been thinking about in relation to patience, and I don't mean this in any sort of like religious ideation. It can be the energy of the universe. It could be the creator. It could be God, whatever kind of resonates with people. But I feel like when you want and need patience, you don't just get patience. You don't get that by reading it in a book. You don't get that by going to a seminar. You're tested. You're tested with something that requires you to have patience. And that's one of the difficulties of life, is that going through the experience and reprogramming your thoughts, your habits, your emotions in relation to certain things in the beginning is what I would describe as like conscious competence. You're thinking about it deeply, and you have to go through steps 1 through 10. But through practice and repetition, what happens? It slowly develops into who you are as a human being. It's part of your mission and your ethos, and transforms or evolves into unconscious competence, where that is now ingrained into your character. I have patience because I earned patience. But if it was given to you, you don't really earn it. It doesn't stick. It may be there on occasion, but it's not like you have subconscious access to it anytime you want. And I think you described it perfectly in relation to, medical appointments and those types of things. We have these ailments and we want a result now, but typically the symptom didn't come on just like that. It took time to kind of screw it up. Gaining weight, it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
We need to unfuck all the things that were fucked, and that has to do with the habits, that has to do with our thoughts, that has to do with the people we're spending time with, what we're watching, what we're consuming, how we're justifying our actions and our decisions. And that takes time to use the whiteout, to use the eraser, to then get back to a clean slate and saying, okay, I did not like who I was when I was looking in the mirror, and now I have this beautiful thing, which is every opportunity is an opportunity to begin again. Right. Now I can begin from a fresh slate, but it takes time to undo a lot of those things. Free is the way to be. Life beats us up a bit and causes some bumps and bruises, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on the sidelines. This is why we've partnered with Kinnean Labs. Get back to doing what you love with this incredible portable device designed to get you back in the game. Kinnean is on a mission to move people from pain to possible with their top-rated red light therapy and laser solution, which tackles inflammation along with muscle and joint pain quickly and effectively. What I love is that it's portable and rechargeable. making it easy to actually incorporate into my everyday life consistently. It's small and lightweight, so you can throw it in your gym bag or work bag, or even an overnighter. Kinion's lasers and LED combo make this cutting-edge device extremely versatile for use with general aches and pains, as well as chronic back pain, arthritis, post-surgery recovery, endometriosis, and more. This has been an amazing tool keeping my elbows and knees pain-free for pressing, pulling, and squatting in the gym. Great tools like the Move Plus give me the freedom and flexibility to continue living life on my terms without limitations. There are a lot of reasons why over 15,000 people are using this device and rating it 4.7 stars and above. Head on over to kinion.io and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to begin your pain-free journey.
Yeah, and I think that's, if a male comes to me and it's, they've got substance abuse issues, which they all do in one form of fashion, whether it's, 10 beers a day or 25 beers a day, like the veteran community thinks there's different levels. I'm not there yet. I'm not an alcoholic, but I still have 10 beers a day, 7 days a week. It's like, oh, okay. Like I'll wait for you to figure out the level of alcoholism that you're at. But it's like, what steps are you going to put in place and what protocols? Like the VA has post 9/11 social workers, they have inpatient rehab, they have outpatient rehab, they have weekly therapy, they have bi-weekly therapy, they have groups, and these things. And it's consistently going to, I have to drive there. Like I have to go sit in this silly office with this silly person. It's like, yeah, man, and maybe it'll fix your silly alcohol problem. Maybe it'll fix, maybe it'll fix your silly cocaine problem that you're trying to, like that silly problem of cocaine that has consumed your life and your bank account. Like maybe that silly problem will get fixed by doing one of these silly therapy sessions. But it's getting the veteran community can only say that to each other. If you say that to a veteran, they're like, okay, Mr. Know-it-all. Like, no, we're not. And then, it's like, well, now I'm not getting any help at all ever. I'm backing away. And that's why when a veteran falls off the wagon, I don't hold that over their head. If they're 45 days clean and sober, I'm not necessarily putting that on the internet. Like in private, we'll talk about those conversations, or they could talk about that. But if on day 46, they fall off the wagon, if we put that on the internet, like they're going to run away from the entire process. Like, okay, cool. So 46, you screwed up and you made a mistake. Life's not over. Let's go. Day 47, what habits? Like, let's get started. Let's get started again. Let's start this thing. And some people may never be clean and sober for a lifetime. But it's still,
I like the way you said that, though. Just the concept of reset, recalibrate, and not holding it against them, the art of forgiveness. And obviously there's frustration. There's all kinds of things that set in there. Where I want to steer the conversation a little bit next is just conceptually understanding the secondarily affected, right? Like this isn't just going to affect the individual that's coming back or has substance abuse or has suicidal ideation. It also impacts the children. It impacts the wife. It impacts other family members, parents, friends, supporters, neighbors, coworkers. How have you better understood those components and how you support the veteran community, realizing that it does diffuse out to the external network?
I get that a lot, and there's specifically the doctors in meetings, and I try to hang up before they say this, but there are times like you've changed family trees. Like you've literally improved and saved family trees. And so I know that the spouses see improvement, or maybe the spouse puts up a boundary, or the mom and dad. A lot of the folks I deal with are single people or who have been divorced, and mom and dad come to me and I'm like, hey, this is the options we have. This is the way the Valor Fit program works. And there isn't any crazy stipulations, but like on the outside, those resources are all there. If your veteran, your son, your daughter isn't doing what you want to do as a child, like, please don't involve me in that. Like I can't give my opinion on your, being a parent for 42 years. Here's the resources. Like, I hope you guys do what's best for you. Sometimes the parents let them stay in jail. They get an OWI. You're staying in jail. And the parents call and say, I've never slept so good in my life. like, yeah, and that veteran that's inside that jail cell is going to feel really silly in the morning. Man, I did it again. And I know, so the positive domino effect that this has, I know what it did to my family. The open communication I have with my family now, and family members of veterans, like the open communication that this sheds a light on. It's like, hey, this is good. But it's always like every spouse, every parent, like they try to hide it. They know that it's going on and everything, everything's bright and shiny, and they might not even be putting that it's bright and shiny on the internet. They just won't say anything at all. It's like, hey, there's action plans for veterans specifically with their families too. So whether it's a spouse, a significant other, or parents or aunts and uncles, maybe, you know what I mean? Like there's spousal benefits. You just have to go to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to receive these resources, and for veterans, there's more resources for veterans than any race, religion, sex, color, or creed. So I have a hard time listening to people complain. Now there are VA, every hospital has an issue, every doctor, isn't always nice, and every nurse, like the nurses are always nice to me. I've never experienced a bad one. But also like that, the communication process that goes out to the families and the actions that's behind it, like there's more to it than just the veteran getting help with this. And I think that's what makes Valor Fit special, is that it's people like you, it's people in my family. People are on the same page with this. People are getting it. And especially in the CrossFit community, people are going there. Of course, you want to look good. Oh, you want to look good naked. Like there's people you say naked and they're probably like, oh, well, that's weird. Like, oh, please don't. You know what I mean? Like this is for mental and physical health. But like everybody's on the same page. It's just getting men to understand like it's okay to go there for your mental health. It's you want to try to race Chandler in a rope climb is your goal. You need different goals. Like as a veteran, someone in our things, like you want to be in the bike club with those people, then you go ride bikes with them. But you're not going to chase down Sam in a workout. Like please don't make that your goal.
Yeah, it's setting realistic goals, aligning with realistic expectations and attainable things that are not just the 1 hour to 2 hours in the gym, but the other 22 to 23 hours outside the gym, and how it's impacting everybody.
And when families see that communication, like, hey, I'm really proud of you for consistently going to the gym 3 days this week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm really proud that you've cutting down on your drinking. I'm really happy that you're not smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Like those little things have improved people's lives, and it improves their family, and the family then wants to be healthy. And so it's like I've had family members, veterans, being like, nah, CrossFit ain't for me. And then their mom's like, hey, do you know a good CrossFit community in outside of Minneapolis? And it's like, so I know that what it provides, it's just super humble. It's super cool to see.
Yeah, man. What you're doing is really special. Before we jump into all the things Valor Fit, I wanna unpack a little bit. It's a very common collection of words that's tossed around when people are going through hard things, and that's, hey man, my thoughts and prayers are with you. I think it's a very difficult thing because I think it comes from a place of positive intention, but it doesn't always land the right way. And I've heard you talk about it a little bit, and I kind of want to deconstruct that a little bit to help arm people that are attempting to be supportive.
Yeah. So like the yellow ribbons, like veterans before the internet got all whatever, like a family would tie a yellow ribbon around a tree when their spouse, significant other, brother, son, cousin, whatever, would deploy. And it's like our thoughts and prayers are with that family. Family's going through a lot, and that was a nice thing to do back then. And then as time has gone on, it's like Memorial Day celebration. I want people to be happy, and I want them to live their lives. It's a very difficult weekend for me. Thankfully, I'll be celebrating with my family and some really great friends. But I think the whole thoughts and prayers thing is to jump on something that's cool without having to actively be involved with it. And that, I understand that. As long as, and I'm not in charge of people to, like, you need to say, but if you're saying thoughts and prayers, why are you saying it like that? I'm not in a position to do that, and I never want to even think that. Sometimes I get a little frustrated I see people promoting certain aspects of the veteran community with thoughts and prayers with nothing followed behind it. Like there's the people that need thoughts and prayers aren't looking at that. Your 22 push-up awareness. I even got into that fad when I was still drinking, doing 22 push-ups for suicide awareness. I'll tell you the demographic that is committing suicide and has thoughts of committing suicide aren't seeing anything with 22 push-ups. They're homeless, they're inpatient rehab, they're outpatient rehab, they're at halfway houses, they're hiding out on a farm somewhere, not looking at somebody doing 22 push-ups. I'll tell you that. And so the thoughts and prayers, it's two sides to me. I'm thankful that people are thinking about it and that people pray for that, but also like there's so many simple, easy actions behind it to show that you care, whether it's promoting the Valor Fit organization or another veteran organization or leading a veteran to our organization. Valor Fit's not the only organization. In my eyes, it is. But there's so many great resources for veterans that thoughts and prayers has become a cop-out that's lazy. And it's not a passive-aggressive thing. I'll be full aggressive about it with anyone. It does, like, thoughts and prayers is no longer good enough if we're going to confront veteran suicide and the health and wellness of the veteran community. And that's with anybody outside any other organization. Like the thoughts and prayers, like that's a nice thing to put on the internet. But if that's all you're doing, make sure you just stick to that saying.
It keeps the problem at arm's distance and basically says, hey, I sort of see you're going through a hard time, and I'm kind of going to say something about it because it allows me to check that box and feel better about it. But in reality, I'm going to keep my distance because it is a little bit more than I can handle right now, and I don't really care that much. But I'm going to pretend to care some of the time when I need something or want something from you. And to me, it just is... It's so misaligned, and I'm right there with you at the forefront of being a little bit aggressive against that because, unfortunately, so much of the world loves things and uses people rather than loving people and using things. And I think that kind of aligns with that. It's like, hey, I want to use all the freedoms that I get from the sacrifices of other people, so I'm going to put this thing up there. But it's almost like the people that don't actually mean it when they say, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And then when you actually need something, crickets. Yeah. And I think it's not fair to the people that say those things that are trying to be empathetic and compassionate because it does come from a good place and it is an attempt to hold some space. But in reality, like you said, there's no enrollment in the process. And so as a byproduct, it's almost better to probably not say anything. What is something you did as a child that you no longer do as an adult? For many, that answer is play. RX Smart Gear allows for your daily workouts to turn into play and exploration. In my training, the Frevo rope gives me access to a versatile rope that I can take with me wherever I go. On the road, at the beach, to the park, or playing at home, RX Smart Gear jump ropes fit my needs. We at Allsmith trust RX Smart Gear. Their gear is always reliable and gives me peace of mind that I will have top-notch equipment to support my health and fitness journey. Hop on over to RX Smart Gear and use the discount code ALLSMITH to shop their latest cutting-edge gear. Have your gear work with you and not against you.
Yeah, and I don't like at the same, then I have the moral, like, I don't want to tell people what to say. I don't want to tell people how to feel. Like, same. It's nice. Like, I've gotten to a point now, I know who and who isn't involved in the CrossFit space with veterans. And so I don't get mad. Like, I want to work with the people who want to help. And that's what I've really focused on and put effort into and time into. So to say that I can't get, I think, like, in my head, if somebody says that, I'm mad. Like, I think those things, like, if somebody, that makes me mad. I don't see much of it anymore because the people that I've surrounded myself with are legit. Yeah. That's why, like, I stick with certain groups of people and I kind of run it into the ground with those people because I know they're great. I know they're good at what they do. I know that they care, but I'm also understanding enough that they have things outside of the Valor Fit organization. It's something I think about all day long is veterans and their families. But I'm also empathetic enough to understand people have other issues. And so, like, We donate to other organizations, Kids Cancer. We've donated to stuff as a family, behind the scenes. I don't need to promote it. I don't need to talk about it. Like, we want those people to know that we care. So here's a donation. I don't have to tell those people about it. But I think sometimes it's like, if you're doing this out of place, I want to look cool like everybody else. Like, people are starting to figure that out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very aggressive in the CrossFit. I've gotten a lot of confidence speaking out about it in public settings. I'm not mad at people for not. I'm grateful for the people that do help these veterans.
Yeah. I love the maturity to just control the controllable.
Yeah.
Dude, let's talk. Let's create some awareness for people around Valor Fit. It's an incredible organization, and I'm excited to hear it from the horse's mouth himself.
Yeah. So the goal was to always, there was never really a goal. I just wanted to help other veterans. I wanted to work with my people here in central Iowa. And then as it grown, like Andrew Nisler in Minnesota, Nick Johnston, and Taylor Williamson. Like, Taylor Williamson was one of the first people to ever buy a t-shirt from us. So, like, the Taylor Williamson, the athlete, great job, Taylor Williamson, the human being. Like, she may be one of the fittest team member in my eyes. She's a human. She's a good human. And her husband is a saint, Nick Johnston. But the goal is to give veterans a place to go 6 to 7 days a week. If everyone has a financial strain of some point, you could have I'm not going to pay for this because I want to pay for this. So if we take the cost of CrossFit out the window, it's on us. We're paying full price to these gyms on the veteran gym membership. Will you go? Absolutely. Because then there's a loyalty, there's a respect, there's trust. If we extend our hand, and I relay this, like, this isn't a handout. Like, this is what you need. Either you utilize this opportunity that won't be held over your head, that no one's going to think illy of you, because I run it. Like, I'm not going to say anything bad about you. Who cares what anybody else says? If somebody else, like, they're paying for your membership, have that person come to me. They're not going to. So let us pay for your membership. You go in and just work out, be told what to do, how to do, when to do it, and get physically moving again. Your confidence is going to raise. Like, things are great. Thank you. This hurts now. I got knee problems. I've had knee problems forever. So they're starting to talk about their physical health. Go to your physical therapist. The VA has all your things. They start to go to their appointments. They feel happy. We stick to the financial aid of their gym membership. There's so many resources to veterans. Like, hey, I'm having a problem with this. Great. Here's the number to your post 9/11 social worker. Call them. Here's the email address directly. You have to call. I'm not calling them. Oh, okay. I don't trust the VA. Cool. There's a program called Care in the Community with the VA. Go do that. And they talk about this even with veterans at their gym. They talk about, like, people know these things. This isn't just coming from me. I start it, and then they do the follow-ups. They do all these things, but it's to give people a place to go where they're wanted. Like, as hard as a workout is, like, I've never left a workout and be like, that was a joke. Like, every one of them, like, it's difficult. And so it's like, man, watching these other people suffer is pretty neat. But I suck at that workout. Like, if you say I suck at that workout in front of Jessie Smith, it's not going to go over well. No, she is going to build you from the bottom up in a 60-second window. Matt Bickle's going to, you know what I mean? Like, those real people are going to build you up. Like, no. Well, let's confront this. That wasn't. Great job showing up. Great job putting in effort. Let's work. And that's CrossFit communities all across the country. So what you thought was a terrible workout, and, oh, this was terrible, and these things, like, brother, you ain't in the CrossFit games. Sarah the veteran, Joe the veteran, like, great job showing up. We're going to work on rope climbs. See you tomorrow. Next week, we're going to hit rope climbs again. See you next week. And so people start to understand, like, I want to be here. It's not like I have to go here because Valor Fit's paying for the membership. I want to be here. I want to make this a part of my daily life. And as great as people think that I am, I think that what I would rather people say is, look at these people making changes in their own lives. They were given an opportunity that they weren't given, and they're making the most of it. And things are sore, and things hurt, and these things, like, you're working hard. Yeah, things might happen down the road. Not every problem will get fixed, but the goal is hopefully you build your confidence, your self-esteem grows. But it's like, these people have I've worked with Vietnam veterans that have never walked into a gym in the day of their life. Female veterans that have looked me in the eye or sent an email, I no longer want to be here. And these people are showing up. You see it specifically at your gym. Her story is a dime a dozen, unfortunately. And that doesn't take away from her, but her effort outside of what she's done with that, her effort in the Sea of Green community, and I'm always going to kind of joke, like that Sea of Green, like her effort in wanting to go there is her effort. Thank you, CJ, for opening Invictus. I appreciate it. Thank you for the teams and the successful athletes that are there, and thank you for Chandler and Jesse and Lauren and the team and Danny and those people. Like, good job. This girl has no idea the professional athlete side of it. Like, she respects them. She sees her workout. She goes there because at one time she didn't want to be here anymore. Now she wants to go there every single day. She wants to go 7 days a week. And I think that if outsiders can see the opportunity that people can be provided when, here, please try this. This is something that could help you. Please go try this. And people doing it and seeing that, like, I'm not doing the workout for any of these people. We're just providing the financial means to it to get people to understand what it's actually providing. And I think our friends in Nashville see it. In Central Iowa, they're great with it. San Diego's great with it. And like the San Diego thing was a map overlay. Veterans, SEAL community, Special Forces community, all those things. Same thing in Nashville. Miami's the same thing. Texas, Central Texas. And it's like, where can we best, most effectively and efficiently help these people? And that's why it's working. Like, this isn't a free for all.
I love the passion. I love that you're opening doors for people to walk through, and they're developing skills, confidence, things that are just going to trickle down into so many different avenues within their lifestyle. We're coming up on Memorial Day, man. We've got Murph. That's a big staple within the fitness community. What does Murph mean to you? I know it's the first workout you ever got introduced to, which is a tough one.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you? And, are you excited for it coming up here in a few weeks?
Yeah. The Memorial Day weekend for me, it's a push and pull. I love it because I am alive and I'm grateful to be alive. At the same time, there's the guilt. So it's definitely the hardest weekend of the year for me leading up to it. Like the Monday before, I kind of start to get a little quieter, and I know I do, and everybody around me does. And so I think the significance not just of Michael Murphy and the honor in which his service did, I think the workout in and of itself is brutal. And that's great to celebrate Michael Murphy and his heroism. But it should also, and I hope that the CrossFit community start to do that. Michael Murphy wasn't the only person killed. And I don't want to say what he would say. I've talked to some of his friends. I've talked to many people in that community. Like, there's a lot of folks that don't have a hero wad named after them. And the veterans understand this. And the veteran community is very into this. And I think CrossFit does a great job with all hero wads. It's just something people get attached to, things like it's a specific date with a specific name. People might not have any idea who it is. So I think it's great. Everything about it, I hate that we have to do it. I think it's honorable that his name is being kept alive, but also those that he served with. Like, how about the other SEALs? How about the other SF guys? How about the transportation men and women that were killed over there? And I think if we start to you can't celebrate, like, do the Murph workout, but let's celebrate all those that were killed. A friend of mine was Dan Whitney. It's Hero Wad Whitten. Dan and I went to school together. We grew up in the same community. It was a small community. So I like the workout. I am grateful for the communities that have stepped up to do fundraisers for us for that, because we're working with the demographic that served with many of these people that hero wads are named after, and they're guilty. And so while we're celebrating these people, there's still people that are alive that are struggling. And so it's always been a push-pull for me. Let's honor these people. But like, I work specifically hand in hand with a demographic that feels guilty because they aren't these people. that they lost their lives. And so it's trying to bring the best of both worlds. And my son has a soccer tournament this Memorial Day weekend, so I'll be in Kansas City for a couple of days, and then I'll be out in Nashville with my friends. But I think if we can remember what it's about, and I think we don't like sit and say thoughts and prayers and let's go to the grave sites of these people. It's not that. Like, live your best life, and for that day, those that can celebrate them, please celebrate them. I don't think everybody should, like, people have problems, people have issues. And so I don't think you should just stop and celebrate, those that have died for 24 hours. Like, I'm going to. I hope there's other people that do. And I hope there's other people that it makes an impact with these things. So again, I'm going to focus on the people who do. And I think the Valor Fit community, we work with a demographic there's a need for these people to receive financial aid for their gym memberships. And so I think Memorial Day weekend, it's a push-pull for me. And I've gotten used to and understanding it's going to be rough, and I'm going to cry anyways. We're a couple weeks out from it. So yeah, we'll celebrate it with affiliates throughout the country and try to get as many people on board to understanding how they can impact at their own CrossFit affiliate. I can't, being all over the country in every state at one time, talking to VAs and talking to police departments on how to work with veterans. But it's like, hey, have you heard of this program? Hey, I'd like to buy t-shirt from this program. I could buy a vest patch that I do Murph in that says Valor Fit, for $10 on valorfit.org/shop. Like that. See, that was good. But like those things, like those are simple ways that you can help. Become a monthly donor. And it's only $20 a month. $20 a month. If everybody got on board with that, the veteran community would hear about every veteran building they walked into. I could make it an available resource to.
No, I mean, it's a great opportunity for people to partake in a great community event, and I love the awareness that you're bringing. I do think it's cool to donate. Can you say that one more time where people can donate?
So our website is valorfit.org. Our apparel is valorfit.org/shop. But on valorfit.org, if you want to become a monthly donor, a one-time donor, and I've a couple times I've said, like, even $1. If you want to go donate $1, people are like, that's not enough. Like, imagine if 100,000 people donated $1. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a lot of veteran gym memberships.
Yeah,
that's a lot of outreach. That's a lot of
every little bit adds up, man, and that's what
Absolutely.
I think was the connection.
People don't understand that, and it's like, I want to give all or nothing, and it's like, give when you can. I appreciate, like, I'm not mad at people who don't. I'm super grateful for the people that do, and I'm going to rock this Valor Fit organization with those people until the wheels are never falling off of this. Like, I'm not going to ever lose the passion for this. And so I think valorfit.org, people can see it. And then our Instagram on Valor Fit and Facebook, like going through and reading some of the stories and what we're doing for outreach and how people can actually take part of this without, if you want to donate, just donate. If you want to be a part of it and, work with veterans, like, there's opportunities for those and fundraisers and competitions.
I love it, man. I love it. This was a special conversation. The collection of stories, your incredible passion, enthusiasm, love, and just HDR, man, heavy, deep, and real. It's the good stuff that makes life a little bit more tangible. And just like I said previously, like, to quote the famous Henry David Thoreau, so many people are living lives of quiet desperation. And you're giving people an avenue to be seen, heard, and understood. Troy, it was a pleasure connecting with you today. We'll reach out. We'll share all the different assets so that way you can share them across your platforms. And, dude, this was special. When you come out here, we definitely got to grab a bite and kind of play some ping pong a little bit.
I've said a couple times to my family, like, what do you guys think? And now my kids are starting to say, like, hey, there's Coronado Beach. There's some beaches in San Diego. So I think when school gets out after Memorial Day, I think the Peterson brothers will be on their way to San Diego at some point, because they're also my oldest thinks Chandler's the greatest human being ever walked this earth.
That's amazing, man. Well, I look forward to some volleyball when that time comes.
Yeah, we'll learn. We're pickleballing at our house right now, so we'll adapt to the volleyball.
I appreciate you, man. For those of you listening or observing on YouTube, if you enjoyed my conversation with the founder of Valor Fit, Mr. Troy Peterson, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time, guys.